Am I allowed to reveal that one time I did?
One time?
Yeah, one time.
With me, you found a skid mark? Is that one time in 10 years? That's enough to talk about on the podcast?
All I'm saying.
And by the way, I think that one time I actually did my pants. So that doesn't count.
Dear Shandy.
I wanted to be with you alone. No. What is it?
Welcome back to Dear Shandy listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
The reason I'm laughing at Andy is because he was just singing.
I think I could do it.
Head Over Heels. Do you want to try
Can't
it?
get the pitch. I wanted to be with you alone.
Very good. That was pretty good.
And talk about the weather.
A shockingly hard song
So
to
hard.
sing a
Why is that
cappella.
hard?
Yeah, strikingly difficult.
I wanted to be. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, well, we have a Q&A to get to today, Andy. But before we got rolling, there was a quick debate. And I said, no, wait. We have to wait till we're recording because I felt that we might have a differing opinion. And our Shandies love it when we disagree. So state your opinion.
My opinion is that peach artificial flavor is, number one, an amazing flavor, maybe arguably the best at times of all the artificial flavors.
Mm.
But I do think that peach artificial flavor tastes nothing like actual peaches.
Oh, that's not the opinion I thought you were going to have. I thought you were going to have the opinion that artificial peach flavor is tastier than peach.
Oh, I also think that.
Wait, serious? See, I don't feel that way. Although it has to be a really good peach.
How many times do you get a really good peach?
Very rarely. Like one time a year if you're lucky.
10% of peaches I eat are really good.
What?
10%.
What happened to peaches? What did they do?
what
They
happened?
went too far with the GMO.
What happened to all fruits and vegetables? They went too far. Except grapefruits, they've done excellent work with.
Grapes.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Grapes is so good what they've done.
Yes.
That grapes alone can make an argument for the entire GMO industry.
Yes, agreed.
For everything.
So I agree that artificial peach flavor is a very good flavor, but I don't think it's topping the list. Like for me, an artificial cherry or an artificial grape are coming out on top personally. But peach is definitely top 5. It's very good.
Yeah. Okay. Peach flavor, artificial, excellent.
Yes.
Better than 90% of actual real peaches.
But when you get a really good peach, obviously that's better.
Obviously.
Yes.
But that's better for everything.
Yeah.
But because of what they've done in agriculture, they've made it almost impossible to the point where it's not even worth arguing. It's like we don't have peaches anymore. You get lucky. It's like getting lucky. It's like winning a prize. You're not like, oh, I won a prize. That's what happens all the time.
No.
I like winning prizes.
It's
That's
so
the thing that
true.
happens. It's like you win a prize once in your life.
It's so true. When I buy peaches now, even when it's like, oh, it's in season, it's like peach season.
Yeah.
It's at the point where I'm like, I'm buying 2 of these. It's like a gamble. I'm buying 2 of these in case I won the lottery and in case I want a second one. But I don't want to buy more than 2 because it's more likely that they're going to be mealy garbage, in which case I won't want either.
It's no different than playing actual Powerball, where you're like, oh, I'm going to buy 5 tickets. I'm going to spend $10 because that'll just increase my odds. But no, it'll just increase your odds from 1 billion to 1 to like 200 million to 1. It's not really meaningful.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
You're still going to lose.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
same thing with peaches.
Well, on that note, I think that's the perfect segue into our Q&A, Andy.
Yeah,
So our
agree.
listeners had wonderful questions, as always. I'm going to do a thing now at the top of the episode, because I always say this at the end in the very last 2 minutes. And then I think people aren't really getting, they're not hearing it. They clock out. So if you have submitted a Q&A question and you're like, why hasn't it been chosen? It's a very good chance that your question was not chosen because of length and length alone. It doesn't even reach the point where it's like in the selection process. It's just screened for length and then passed over. So make sure you do not include irrelevant details or tangents or things like that. It really makes a big difference.
It's not the length of the email. It's how you craft it.
Exactly. All right.
I was just thinking grapefruit and grapes. Those are the 2 things that the horrible GMO industry has done excellently with.
Yes.
Grapefruit. Why is it called a grapefruit?
I have absolutely no idea. Shandies, it's your time to shine. Let's find out.
But I will say, I want to make it clear, the GMO is terrible. It's done all terrible things. Tomatoes have been destroyed. There's no such thing as good tomato.
Yeah.
When I get a good tomato now, I actually wonder what happened. I wonder if the guy who runs the restaurant knows someone in the mafia or something.
Yeah, we literally keep track of which restaurants have good tomatoes, and we'll go back because of their tomatoes.
And by the way, those restaurants that do have good tomatoes don't always have good tomatoes.
No.
Even the ones that have the good tomatoes, some days are like, no, we just don't. They're
Maybe
not around.
that should become your new passion, Andy, is growing good tomatoes.
I mean, I think people have beaten me to it, but you got to find these people. They're like growing it on rooftops, and you have to get the right seeds. You have to get the seeds from like a million years ago.
And actually, you have attempted growing tomatoes on our roof, like good tomatoes, and they failed miserably. They got infections.
I always got one or two good ones, and then the rest are just terrible.
Yeah, but they only looked good.
Well, it's because the weather's all screwed up. It's like so hot, and then it's so cold.
Yeah.
And then it's so hot.
Okay. All right. So produce. Yeah. Okay. So this first question is from Childless Host. Dear Shandy.
I want it to be with you alone.
Good.
That's it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dear Shandy, first off, thank you so much for your wonderful podcast and the joy it consistently brings. Since 2020, you've been a steady companion through my many life milestones, and I'm truly grateful for that. That's so nice. Thank you, Childless Host. Now, on to my potentially sticky situation. I'm a 29-year-old woman who just bought her first condo. Ooh, congrats.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
29, buying a condo?
That's early for condo.
Isn't that like impressive? I feel like now young people, I'm like, how is it possible to buy
How do you do
something?
It? Yeah.
It's like everything's been discovered and there's so many people.
So many people.
And prices are so high.
Rent too damn high.
After a big renovation, complete with fresh carpet and new furniture, I am very thrilled about my new home. I was glad when two close friends expressed interest in visiting to see my new space. But here's the concern. They suggested turning the visit into a movie night and bringing along their two kids. These little ones, who I do love, are tiny tornadoes of crumbs, spills, and chaos. I usually visit their home where their kids can play and be entertained. My home, however, is pretty small and definitely isn't child-proof. I've invested a lot into making my home, and I'd really like to keep it nice for at least a bit. While I typically view objects as just things, this condo represents a significant financial and emotional investment. So, how do I handle this situation with grace? How can I communicate my concerns without seeming rude or disrespectful? Thank you so much for your guidance. Warm regards, Childless Host.
Hmm.
I mean, I know what I think she should do.
So tell them.
I think it's like the movie night idea came about because, both of her friends have kids. And I totally understand the appeal of bringing your kids along. Right? Yeah, like that's a thing. You don't have to worry about a sitter.
It depends also what movie it is. What movie are they watching? Are they watching The Godfather or are they watching like Madagascar? It's a big difference.
Oh.
Like, what was the movie? Was it chosen prior to the engagement, or was it chosen as they were at the apartment?
I get the impression that it was not Childless Host's idea to have a movie night, and I think therefore it's her place, it's her home housewarming
So you're
situation.
saying she just wanted to have people over. She didn't want to have movie.
No,
night. She didn't want to have any movie.
She said that they floated the idea.
Right, but did they float the idea?
They suggested turning the visit into a movie night.
But did they say movie night with our kids?
Yes.
Okay, so the kids were not a surprise.
And bringing along their two kids.
So that was all in the plan.
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood that.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
No, I just thought that maybe it was a movie night that turned into a kids' movie night.
Oh, I think she should just have like a housewarming, adults, bring a bottle of wine, let's hang out, like old times, get a sitter. And be like, oh yeah, a movie night down the road, but I want to have like she can make it like, oh, I want to have like a formal like housewarming get together. Not like cut right to movie night. Like this is them seeing her place. I think you can have like a bit of like festivity to it. Not just like, okay, now we're all just going to like lounge around eating popcorn. I think that they're separate things. And she's allowed to want that after the investment emotionally and financially that she's put into this.
I gotta say, I gotta put a little bit of this on Childless Host.
Oh,
I think it really takes two to tango in this situation.
It does.
A movie night with kids doesn't just pop up out of nowhere.
Too passive, too easygoing, too agreeable.
I think you need to put your foot down. Say what you want to your friends. I mean, this does not sound like a housewarming night. This does not sound at all like a housewarming. This sounds like a movie night with kids, which is a totally different operation.
And I think that I'm the one who put in the whole like housewarming idea, but I think that that's what she should cling on to turn it more into what she had in mind. So it has like an identity as of being a certain kind of get together and not a too casual movie night. And that's not to say that the kids can't visit at one point, but I do think that there's something special.
Yeah.
It's like knighting the apartment or something.
Yes.
It's
Christening.
That was the word, knighting, christening.
I'm not
Same
sure.
thing.
Did the apartment do something special? Or
I couldn't. Well, christening.
Cure a disease or something.
I couldn't think of the word. Yes, it's a christening of the condo, and she might end up living here for a really long time. This doesn't happen that often. Make it special. Make it a party. Make it an event.
I think this question has nothing to do with this particular.
I
thing.
agree.
This question has to do about asking what you want and being straightforward with your friends.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not easy. I'm acting like it's super easy. Sometimes your friend's like, oh, I got a great idea. I'll bring my kids over. We'll have movie night. And you're like, oh, hold on a second.
Yes.
And then you kind of seem like a little bit of a dick. But you got to set a precedent with friends. Otherwise, friendships become strained. Because you're constantly holding micro resentments.
Totally.
You're just like, oh, I didn't want that. I didn't want that. Why did they make me do that? And then you take it out on them, and then you get in a fight, and then you don't talk about it, and then suddenly you don't speak to each other ever again. That's how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that it's a red herring. That children being, tornadoes and leaving crumbs everywhere. That's really a red herring. That's not what this question is about.
Right.
I think it's the catalyst. It's the thing that makes her realize that maybe she needs to sort of state her wants and her boundaries a little bit better.
Manifest what you want and be very clear and direct with your friends about how you want these things to occur.
The issue with, I think we've answered this. Whether or not she listens is a different story. And maybe this will come out too late anyway. But I think that it gets really personal when you're talking about someone's kids.
Right.
Like calling someone else's kids messy.
Ooh,
there are some parents out there who are sensitive enough that the word tornado would be offensive to them.
Yeah.
They're
gotta be careful.
Yeah, everything.
Gotta be really careful.
Everything's sticky.
Everything's sticky all the time.
Yeah, like I can picture this being delicate waters to tread, and so I understand for sure, childless hosts. But it's also, you are well within your right, and I also think it's also more kosher than it has ever been to just be like, hey, I think I want it to be like a child-free night. I just want to hang out with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
Period.
Or just don't even say I want it to be a child-free night. Be like, I want to have a night with you, me, this person, and this other person. And that's it. Make it extremely clear.
Yeah.
And then then she'll have to say, oh, is it okay if I bring my kids? You're like, oh no, I'd really just, let's have like just us.
Or knowing childless host, she'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she'd write into a podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry, childless host. We tease lovingly, but
lovingly.
I agree with Andy. It does take two to tango. What do you want to bet that when we get an update one day, she did end up having the kids come over? And it ended up being fine.
Fine?
Fine. I think that the kids probably were on their best behavior. There were no spills.
You know what? I'm sure it's going to be fine. But it's not about this.
Yes,
Again,
totally.
This event is not going to change her life. Whether the kids come or not, this night's going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And no one's going to care.
Yeah.
But in life, there may come a time when you do allow a decision to roll over you, and you're going to regret it, and you're going to miss out on what would have been a great time. And it may have nothing to do with kids. Right?
Totally. And I do think that the thing at that point that might really affect you, it might be a lot more serious than a spill on your new rug.
Right.
But you let it get to that point.
Yeah,
so.
It's like, we'd really, really appreciate if you accept this job offer. And it's a job you don't want. And you're like, well, they did say please.
Okay, childless host, good luck. I do think you're going to need it a little just because it's hard being honest.
Yeah, it really is. And it's easy for me to say from this nice, comfy red chair that you should be more honest with your friends. But, I often don't do it. Yeah. And a lot of people I know don't do it. And
I've been actively working on it, and it's very rewarding, but it's not always.
No.
It's not always. Like, truly, some friends are not receptive. Okay, good luck. All right, this next question is from Drama Queen. Dear Shandy, Juan Pablo's season was the first Bachelor I ever watched, and I've been following you ever since your search for a cerebral connection with Andy.
Aww.
And, I did find my cerebral connection.
You did. Maybe too much.
I was mocked. They made fun of me. They ridiculed me.
They called you mad.
They did call me mad. Cerebral connection.
Yeah.
get over
You're
yourself.
done.
That's what they all said.
Yeah. And now be careful what you ask for.
What? Because I got
You may have got too much of a cerebral
no. I got
connection.
exactly what I wanted, and it shows that who cares if people make fun of you? You too can have your cerebral connection.
Is this a soapbox?
It is a soapbox.
Good for you.
I'm realizing
Get on your soapbox.
I've never gotten on the soapbox before
Yeah.
in all these years. In all our years of podcasting.
Yeah, get on that soapbox.
Yeah. People made fun of me.
Yeah, take off your heels, get on that soapbox.
Thank you.
Do you take off your heels before you get on a soapbox, or you want to have more height? Maybe heels are good for a soapbox.
It would depend on the heel, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't want a stiletto on a soapbox.
Yeah.
Then you can make a fool of yourself.
Yes.
While you're like, I say, and then you fall.
Totally.
And there's like,
Totally.
idiot.
And through the pretty panda's days, recently she's a panda too. I'm just saying.
Obviously.
Recently, my husband has been drawn into watching your recaps and Q&As with me. He generally agrees with you both and laughs at Andy's analogies, a green flag.
Yeah.
My husband, 39, and I, also 39, live in the Bay Area and have been together 6 years, married for 3, and welcomed our first baby girl earlier this year. Recently, he started watching Love is Blind with me and his 29-year-old nephew, who lives with us. Now, binging every version, Argentina, Mexico, UK, Sweden, is our nightly ritual after the baby's asleep. Here's the issue. My husband's commentary drives me crazy. It's blunt, harsh, and overly focused on appearances, making me argue with him even when I secretly agree. Examples. With Hannah and Nick, he called Hannah ugly and said Nick should dump her and that she's, quote, such a bitch. Not entirely untrue, but his delivery made me want to defend her, even though I didn't like her either. In the UK season, he predicted, quote, that guy won't like her because he wants to date someone prettier and skinnier, unquote. It felt shallow, even though the internet had the same opinion based on the editing. In the Sweden season, he called one guy, quote, a douchebag, and said he wasn't good enough for the sweet, beautiful girl he ended up with. Okay, I actually totally agreed with this one, but his passionate hatred was a bit much. And on looks, when a pretty girl met her friends, he said, why do pretty girls always have ugly friends? And when a less conventionally attractive girl was about to meet hers, he predicted, I bet her friends are going to be really pretty. These comments made me the angriest, and also I don't think they're true. Mm-hmm. He argues that since it's reality TV, looks are part of the premise, and sharing opinions in private isn't hurting anyone. According to him, quote, they're not real people, they're just people on TV. Am I overreacting by asking him to filter his comments, or is it fair to feel upset by his delivery? Is this a harmless quirk I'm taking too seriously, or a red flag pointing to something deeper? I told him I'm writing to you guys about this, so we are both looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Sincerely, Drama Queen.
No.
So he'll be listening. Andy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, Sharleen,
Andy?
I've been thinking about something recently, something very important.
Oh.
Cozy puts the Z's in sleep.
Oh.
It's very important to think about.
It does. Yeah. Cozy.
And we are going home soon, and I cannot wait to jump into my Cozy Earth dream of a bed.
Yes, Cozy Earth sheets. They're made from viscose from bamboo, which not only is more sustainable than cotton, it's so durable, so soft, way softer than any cotton sheets we've ever owned. And they only get softer with age, by the way. They start out more like silky, and then as you wash them and use them, they become just more and more velvety soft. And because they're temperature regulating, they're breathable, they keep you warm when you're cool, but they keep you cool when you're hot, which, by the way, has meant that you sweat less in bed, which means you sleep better. And it also means there's less staining on the sheets.
And lest you think this pair of Cozy Earth lounge pants is a repurchase, you would be wrong, because I have been wearing these for the better part of 4 years of this podcast, every single recording. Look at these. They
still look as good as the day we got them. You notice how they haven't faded?
No fading, no pilling.
Plus, all Cozy Earth bedding and bath products come with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty.
So luxury shouldn't be out of reach.
Go to cozyearth.com/Shandy and use our code Shandy to get up to 40% off Cozy Earth's best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more.
cozyearth.com/Shandy. This is what I'm going to say. Look, is it nice what he's saying? No, it's not nice. But it's also what 99% of people are saying from the comfort of their homes on their sofas. Can I continue,
sorry.
please? I would compare reality dating shows now to gladiator games from 2,000 years ago, where, common people who are just like, a blacksmith making his, whatever they made a tools, I guess. Swords. Well, swordsman. Did blacksmith make swords?
Yeah.
That was a sword. They made weapons,
helmets,
chains.
They would make armor,
tools, or like maybe tables, like
maybe
stands,
hinges for doors.
Yeah, all sorts of metal stuff. Anyway, so
bars for doors and windows.
Yes, bars were very important.
Yes,
that
hugely
made
important.
The world go around. That was like the beginning of property. How can you have property without a bar?
A bar is extremely important.
What do you have, like wood with straw? No, you'd need bars.
Bars
steel.
were one of the biggest things, I would say, and then glass was probably huge too. Next,
now
but
we're
that was
getting down a rabbit hole.
I know, but I'm just saying that those are major.
The glass was enormous.
Yes,
they didn't have, what did they have, like a hole in the wall?
A hole. Yes.
Yeah, and so it was wintertime.
And then they had to have small holes because if it was too cold, the hole couldn't be too big.
Right.
So that would affect just like
the
you're
view.
Just in a dark,
you have no
dank,
view. Yeah, you have just enough room to stick like a spear, not a spear,
a pistol,
a bow, a bow and arrow. Get an arrow.
Oh yeah, not a pistol.
If there was attackers.
Wrong era.
No. Yeah, it's a little later, but not too far. Anyway, so my point is that ordinary people would be doing their jobs, such as the blacksmith, and then once a week or once a month, I don't know how often they had these gladiator games. So let's say once a month. Seems like a luxury. It's probably once a month. They would go to the
luxury.
It's a luxury. Yeah, you can't have gladiator games every day.
Oh, you're right. No, it's probably it's entertainment.
Yes, it's a big deal. It's like the the new season of Severance. It's maybe not that infrequent, but anyway, that was like every 5 years Severance comes out. So they go to the Coliseum. And they go watch some people get eaten by lions and torn apart in games of like sword matches.
I bet you they didn't see them as people. They were like, oh, those aren't real people.
No,
those are people in the gladiator game.
That's my point. Is that they would cheer and they're like, yeah, kill him. And then the guy would put the thumbs down, and the poor guy who's injured would like have stabbed in the heart.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Oh, they're literally heads on spikes.
Heads on spikes. Yeah,
not from the gladiator.
I don't know if they put heads on spikes. I think that's a little disrespectful. I think they just killed them and dragged them off into the bowels of the Coliseum.
Did I go too far?
Yeah, you went too far. But they did put heads on spikes, but not in the Coliseum games. Anyway, my point is that...
I mean, there was a time when heads were on spikes and people weren't like, oh, that's awful.
Yeah, no, there was a time when they're like, oh, I didn't realize, he must have done something bad.
Yeah, he deserved
Mr. Johnson, I just saw him yesterday. He's like, now his head's on.
Because I feel like we probably look back on that and we're like, oh, how evil the people putting heads on spikes, and your average civilian is probably like living in fear and like horrified. But actually, that was probably totally normal.
They're just like, whose head's on a spike this week?
Yes.
Like, oh wow, I wouldn't have. No, he didn't seem like a head on spike kind of guy.
Have we watched too much Game of Thrones?
Too much Game of Thrones. I do think that, to be fair, I think there were always people who were horrified by heads on spikes.
I agree.
I don't think there were probably a good chunk of society was like, oh, another head on a spike, but there were a nice sizable minority that was horrified.
Yeah,
because it's always horrifying. I don't think a head on a spike has ever been something that was commonplace for a normal person. Anyway, my point is, getting back to the point, is that this blacksmith, who was a nice guy, said good morning to everybody, made good wares, had good work ethic, was nice to his family and his children. Went to this
probably
Coliseum.
Went to church every Sunday.
First of all, there was no church back then. Jesus wasn't even born. Stop getting this all. Come on, enough with this. Okay. There were no guns. There was no Jesus. There was no church. They worshipped idols and weird gods like Zeus.
Okay, sorry, I'm not in the right era. I'm sorry. I was just thinking like a holy man, like someone who's like a good guy is what I was going for.
Yes,
temple.
They went to some form of temple, not Christianity, but close. It's close. You have another 500 years or so. But anyway, this guy goes to the Coliseum and he acts like a savage. He's got bloodlust. He wants to see them because he's first of all, he's disengaged himself with real life. He's now, I'm escaping to this world where I can get out all my id. I'd be like, I don't like those people.
Yes.
I want to see them get eaten by a lion.
Yeah.
But it's okay. But I'm with like 25,000 other people who all want to see that guy get eaten by a lion.
Yes, and this is completely normal.
It's normal. It's normalized, but this is an entertainment. It's been sectioned off in my life.
Yeah.
Morally speaking, I have sectioned this off, and all these other people have, and I'm allowed to get all my stuff out, and that's what it is. And that's it. Then I go back to making swords and bars for doors.
And waking up at a good hour and
waking up at a good hour.
And like kissing my wife.
Going to the Catholic Church.
Yes, yeah.
That hasn't been invented for a long time. But this is what this guy's doing. And you know what? Is it nice? No, it's not nice. But is he like this in the rest of his life? Does he say these things in the rest of his life? No. Does he feel these things in the rest of his life? Yes. but so do a lot of other people who never say it.
Yeah.
So is he a bad guy? No. Is it a little abrasive when you're sitting with someone and they're being that mean and that superficial to people who really, I guess buyer beware. I mean, they kind of, in some ways, they asked for it, the people on the show. I mean, I don't know what they expect. Everyone to love them. But that's a different argument.
Yeah.
But
I'll get to that.
Yeah, but yes, it's abrasive. And yes, it's probably a little too much. But I don't think that she can judge his character based on this isolated behavior when watching reality TV, which is, in my opinion, very similar to the ancient gladiator games.
Okay. I mean, I do agree with everything that you've been saying. And I'd like to touch on him saying that they're not real people, they're people on a TV show. Because having been a person on a TV show and having been spoken about in that manner, obviously I feel that they are people. Yeah. And I've made a concerted effort when we talk about the show to come at it from that angle. And it's like, maybe they're not always like this, but in this setting, under these circumstances, with all these producers and blah, 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 that this is how they're behaving. Mm-hmm. And I think that him saying that, knowing everything else he's saying, I do think he's kind of needling his wife a little bit.
Yeah, I do.
And I think that
I agree.
And one of the reasons he is needling drama queen is because she is giving a pretty delightful reaction. She is getting upset about things and he's
getting a rise out of her.
He is getting a rise out of her. And I think he kind of enjoys it. He knows logically that they're real people.
Yeah.
He does.
Of course.
But in the same way that they go to the gladiator show, it's like, you are my entertainment right now. And I am in the privacy of my own home. And I'm not condoning the things he's saying about people. I do think some of them are meaner than others. Mm-hmm. But this brings me back to something we've touched on in the past, which is getting offended. We've talked about this before. Getting offended and how I think important it is to have a sense of humor and not allow yourself to get offended by things that are really not offensive to, I mean, of course, if it's like a bigger picture, it's like right versus wrong. And there's, if there's like a social issue or like a human rights issue, like that's different. But when I think it's a couple watching TV, it's relatively harmless. I think for the most part, she doesn't need to be so offended. She can debate him and disagree with him. Like, I think the whole thing about pretty girls have ugly friends and ugly girl, like that, I think, that she knows it's wrong. It's obviously wrong. I do think he's saying it to get a rise out of her. He's probably seen it happen like, 2 times and is like, it's always like this. He sounds like someone who just like talks in extremes because it's like, he has like a big gregarious personality. And I think instead of being offended that he said that, she can just debate it.
And challenge him.
Yeah, challenge it. And then the other stuff, when she's like, secretly, I did agree with him.
That's the thing. She agreed with him on almost everything.
Yeah, or like the internet did agree with him. Like the world, everyone watching agreed with him. It's like, then you're the person you're hurting by getting so angry or getting upset. And I get that this is all, I get that this is tongue in cheek. He knows she wrote in. The whole thing is funny. I think she needs to lean a bit more into the funny. She doesn't need to be personally offended.
And I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think we're both in agreement.
Yeah.
Overall. I have one caveat for this. I believe that putting negative thoughts out into the universe does not reap good fruit.
It agree.
It reaps the average peach.
Mealy, shitty peach.
Yeah. So like sometimes I'll be watching these shows and I'll feel my id rising up and it's like, say that thing. Say the thing. You want to say it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It doesn't need to be said.
I agree. In fact, I think that it brings you closer to your higher self.
To not say it. It feels good.
It does.
It almost feels like a release.
Because
as opposed to the release of saying it, which you think, oh yeah, just get it out. Just say the nasty thing. It'll make you feel like, no, there's a release of not saying it. You're like, I'm going to do it. No. It's like when you're in a group, like maybe a business lunch or something, and someone says something where it's so obvious that there's a great "that's what she said" joke that you can make.
Yeah.
Or something more even low level, like lower hanging fruit than "that's what she said."
Okay.
And you're like, no, I'm not going to take it.
Well, that's when you've really graduated.
Right.
You've really graduated when you're like, I could say this thing, this nasty thing, this low-hanging fruit thing, and you're like, but it doesn't need to be said.
You don't need to point out the obvious thing that someone is suffering from. That's what I think in life, in general.
Agree.
For these reality shows, like we watch it all the time. And there are times when we're being quiet, but we know what we're saying about the thing.
Yeah, but actually, you really don't do what the husband here does.
I don't.
Andy, truly... this is what I like about watching these shows with you is the stuff you criticize is truly behavioral.
Yeah.
And of course, we recap the show, so we're watching through a certain lens. But I think that, are you still talking about this, or can I take this in a slightly different direction now?
Take it in a different direction.
I think one of the reasons the husband is being as over the top offensive is because he's watching with his nephew? His 29-year-old nephew.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, his 29-year-old nephew who lives with them. Once you're in kind of company where it's like, let's talk about how ugly that girl is.
She's outnumbered by two guys.
Yes.
They're being boys.
Yes, I question if he would do that if it weren't for his nephew.
That's a great point.
Watching with them.
That's a great point.
Which then, to me, I don't mean to shame the husband. Knowing he's listening to this.
I kind of want to shame him more knowing he's listening to it.
Oh.
So we have an opportunity to shame him.
But I don't want to shame him.
No, I don't.
Because
either.
I do think that drama queen does need to be less offended. I want to get that out of the way. So I think that they're both a little wrong because she's the one creating this strife for herself. And I think that it's really a sacred thing to be in your home with your spouse and to be able to say what you think and for it not to be responded to with a sort of higher ground. Oh, you shouldn't talk about so-and-so like that. You shouldn't be like that. Like, to me, if I came home and I just say the nasty thing that I'm thinking and I'm just in that kind of place. And if you were tisk, wagging your finger at me, I'd be like,
you agree with me? Why are you saying that?
Yeah, it would just be kind of annoying. This is my safe space. So I think on one hand, she does not need to be as offended. But I do think that he is better than this.
Yeah.
He's better than this. And I think part of him is acting 10 years younger.
Yeah.
Because of his nephew.
It's juvenile.
It is.
It's the inability to block natural impulses.
Mm-hmm.
Impulses that aren't serving a purpose.
Yeah.
It's like everyone in the room knows the thing you're about to say.
Yeah.
And you've chosen to say it.
Yeah.
You're that, and I compare it to that, and by the way, I'm not, this guy, you're fine. I'm not.
Oh, no, I think we like them, both of them,
you're
honestly.
Fine. I'm not going to.
And the fact that he knows she's writing in, this couple is going to work. I even think the whole, is this a red flag to his character? I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not a red flag.
You have a baby with him. This is not who he is.
No.
I think that's one of the things that annoys her about it is because she knows it's not who he is.
It's not who he is. He's a blacksmith. That's what he does.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've answered this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we didn't choose a side, but I don't think we needed to.
Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong.
Yes. Yeah. But I do think that she can ask herself, do I really need to be so offended, especially when I secretly agree? And he can ask himself, do I really need to say the obvious thing or the thing that my id is thinking, or would I be saying this if it weren't for my nephew who's 10 years my junior next to me? Am I my best self when I say this?
I asked the question. If you could rate your good feelings on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel better after saying the thing, or do you feel better after not saying the thing?
There's some self-work training in that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Watch a reality show where there's someone who just grinds your gears and with other people and just don't say the thing.
Don't say the thing.
You can criticize their behavior.
If they act badly, most definitely you can talk about it.
But that's different.
But if they do something that really is beyond their control, or the way they look, or the friends they have as a result of the way they look, maybe lay off.
Yeah. The looks thing is, like I said,
watch out.
Not the highest self.
No.
All right. This next question is from Anonymous. Dear Shandy, My husband and I, both age 40, live in the Washington, D.C. area with our 2 kids, ages 5 and 7. My husband and I have been together for 18 years, so although our relationship is fine, I'd characterize it as stagnant since we've been together for so long.
So automatically after a certain amount of time, it's stagnant. I mean, that's honest, I guess.
It's very honest. I've always known I loved the beach and ocean. In fact, on one of our first dates, I told my husband that...
So I have a bone to pick here.
Oh, what? The beach and ocean?
Isn't it part and parcel? I guess you got to have a beach by a lake. Is a lake beach really a beach?
Yeah. A beach is...
Like a Great Lake beach is definitely a beach. But like a normal lake beach, is that a beach or is that kind of like a waterfront?
I think, Andy, you could have shown restraint in not commenting on this.
You know what? You are 100% right.
In fact, on one of our first dates, I told my husband that one of my non-negotiables was that we spend time at the beach every year. But over the last 18 years, my love of the ocean has become even more important to me. I can't fully describe how much I love the ocean now, but I feel like it's a way of life. And to me, it feels like a need instead of a desire to be near the ocean. I love everything about it: swimming, fishing, snorkeling, and most importantly, surfing. Meanwhile, my husband started out neutral about the beach, but now has negative feelings about the beach, although he has taken up outrigger canoeing, which he enjoys. My husband sees how I feel, though I don't think he truly understands, and has tried to accommodate me. We spend 2 to 4 weeks at my parents' beach house in Virginia every year, although that is ending soon because my parents can no longer maintain the beach house and my husband doesn't want to take it over. For the last 5 years, we have spent a month a year in Hawaii, close to where my sister lives, but this year my husband said we need to reconsider these month-long trips in Hawaii. We spent almost a year living/working in Hawaii, where I enjoyed the adrenaline rush of daily surf sessions and my husband with island fever and complaining that Honolulu does not feel like a real city. We are back from another Hawaii trip, and once again, I am feeling trapped and depressed in this East Coast cold weather. I'm feeling more depressed than usual because of the loss of my parents' beach house and the possibility of losing our month-long trips to Hawaii. I want to move to Hawaii, but I can understand my husband's point that the schools are not as good there and that we have good jobs with pensions here. We are both planners and have the next 10 to 15 years of our lives planned out. I want to move to Hawaii when we retire, but my husband is pushing back on that too. So here's my question. Am I being unreasonable? What is a fair expectation? What is a fair compromise? Anonymous. And the title of the email is where you live a deal breaker in a relationship? Which, by the way, has been a recurring theme across the board. This one's, I think, a little more extreme because of like the ocean, the beach thing. It's very specific. But I mean, even when we had Taylor and Garrett on for Love Fest, we talked at length about agreeing to live in a place. Like, how often are we lucky enough where both parties are like, yeah, this is the city for us?
It's very rare.
It is rare, especially if one of you grew up with a beach house.
This is what I think in relationships in general, where there's someone who really wants something and someone who doesn't care for it. The really wants something should take precedence most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that they don't necessarily have to move, like fully move their lives to Hawaii. Maybe the compromise is they maintain her need for beach life.
Yes.
And I don't think that's that difficult. And I honestly think she says it's stagnant. I think he's becoming unreasonable in the relationship.
Okay.
I think that she has a clear love of the beach and the ocean, as she said. And I think that if he really does love her and cares about her, he would want her to have that and to share the happiness with her, even though he's not a huge fan. It's not like he's fine with the beach and the ocean. He just doesn't love it.
He doesn't get off on it.
There's a compromise here.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what he loves.
What is he getting?
What does he love?
He loves planning and being in the same place. And he likes like regimented life.
That's how it feels. When I'm reading this email, it's like, well, the schools are good. And
he's practical. He's living in pragmatism.
But I do think pragmatism, a fear or discomfort with change can disguise itself as pragmatism.
Yes.
And I think I'm getting that vibe from him where it's like, this doesn't make sense. I don't want to take over your parents' beach house. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to live in Hawaii for a year. But you could say that about so many things that are not only things that bring joy in people's lives, but are also cost money and are probably impractical. But you do it because you're like, I enjoy this. This is valuable to me. I want to spend my money doing this. I want to live in Hawaii for a month, which, by the way, I think sounds amazing.
Sounds amazing.
And
if you have the means.
Which
if this is breaking the bank,
doesn't it sound like they have the means? It sounds
like they have the means. If this was like putting them in a position where they'd have to sacrifice, like their kid's going to go to school or they couldn't like buy food, obviously the decision is clear.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that at all.
Yeah.
This is just this layering on their life. They're like, yeah, we can have this and we can have this and we can have this. But he chooses not to, because it doesn't fit into his planning.
Yeah.
And I think he's being a little unreasonable. I think she should get what she wants, which is some beach.
Yes.
Some beach. It doesn't have to be all beach.
It sounds like it's one trip a year and it's a lengthy trip. It's
a
sizable trip.
Get her done. Do it. Do it for her.
Because she didn't mention money. She didn't mention how it disrupts his life at all. There's two ways to unpack that. First, we could consider that maybe she's not taking into account maybe that it stresses him, or we have to read between the lines. Maybe what's missing is a paragraph about how, I don't know, he feels financially stressed going to Hawaii for a month a year or something like that. Like, I don't know if there's something missing from this email, but if it really is to be taken at face value, it does kind of feel like he's just like a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not your thing to go and spend a month in Hawaii, it's like, who hates that? Well, who hates that? You're at that point, you're like the person who's like looking for something.
She's not asking to spend a month in Siberia.
Yeah.
That I could understand.
Maybe what he would like is to travel to different places, and he's tired of going to the same beach house, the same place in Honolulu. That's a different story, in which case they could incorporate New Beach and travels into their vacations and their trips and things like that. But I just don't know why this is something she needs to give up.
I feel like sometimes in long-term relationships, there comes a point where a partner doesn't want to do things that their partner wants, simply to like maintain their individuality.
Yeah.
Almost as like a very slight FU. Like, I know you want to do this and I kind of don't mind doing it. But you know what? I just don't want to do it that much, and I'm just going to stand my ground because I want to feel like I'm me. Like I want to feel my oats again. I feel too codependent in this relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm going to deny you something that I kind of don't even. I'm like fine with, but I don't really care about.
Yeah.
I'm going to deny it for you to make myself somehow feel more independent and more in charge in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's very dangerous.
It is dangerous, especially since we don't know what it is that he loves or wants.
Right. It doesn't sound like he really loves or wants much other than like a planned, very predictable and reasonable and pragmatic situation.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to say, because she hasn't talked about it. Maybe he has a million great hobbies that he fosters all day long.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the feeling this guy wants like practical, easy, predictable. She wants a little more adventure, a little more beauty, a little more just like, maybe some discomfort that leads to more satisfaction.
Yeah, because it is uncomfortable it's probably a big trip.
It's a big deal.
It's probably like logistically slightly a pain in the ass.
But what isn't?
Yes. What worthwhile things are not a bit of a pain in the ass?
Everything's a pain in the ass. Even sometimes sex is a pain in the ass. But you get something good at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. The fact that she says they're planners. Did she say they're planners or he's a planner? She said, we are both planners and have the next 10 to 15 years of our lives planned out. While okay, you want to go?
I would say that if that statement was made and the plan was something new, I would say great. But it's like they have that planned out and it's like the same thing. It's like they've just like, we're doing this same thing for the next 10 to 15 years. That doesn't sound like a plan to me. That sounds like the absence of a plan. That sounds like we're just going to do this thing that we're same track we're on. We're going down this track.
Yeah.
And I can see the horizon. I see the end of the track and we're just going there.
You know what?
And that's it.
What's missing from their plans is the unknown.
There's no unknown. What's the point of life anymore? We live in a time, it's not the 1820s anymore, where you're just like, have a roof over your head, have the kid, make sure everyone's fed, don't die of like typhoid or something. And that's it. You're done. Work every day to the bone, barely sleep at all and die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what life was for a long time. And, as America was getting its feet underneath it. But now we have the option to be like, we want to do something that we don't have to do.
Yes.
We have choices.
Yes.
So
especially if you have means, which is a big, big barrier to entry for most people, since that doesn't sound like their issue, because I feel like she would have mentioned it. There is so much potential for unknown, which is really where the excitement, the spice of life is. Yeah.
Everything else, comfort is, I think, and I'm still struggling with this. I haven't overcome my desire for comfort.
Yeah.
But the desire for and comfort itself, I think, is one of the most insidious diseases in the human self.
I agree.
I think it eats away at you and it slowly makes you less of what you could have been.
It makes your life smaller and smaller. It makes you less willing to go to Honolulu for a month.
Yeah.
Even though you've done it and probably enjoyed aspects of it, you're just like, but it's just not worth it. So what do you do in that month instead? You stay home.
Yeah.
You do what you were going to do anyway. And then that month goes by like every other month in your life. And suddenly a year has gone by and it's like, what did I do?
And the thing is it going to be worse for him to spend a month in Hawaii once a year? Is it going to be worse? Is his life going to be substantially worse because of that? No. It's at worst going to be the same level of satisfaction. And for her, it's going to be huge. Huge. So if he loves her, let her have this. And I know she's asking the question, so I'm not talking to her husband, although maybe he'll listen to the podcast.
I don't. But see,
for the first and only time.
Isn't that interesting? So the last question, she said, my husband knows I'm writing and he's going to listen to this. We're looking forward to what you say.
That's right.
It doesn't feel like Anonymous's husband knows, because this brings us to I think the final chapter of our answer to this question. It doesn't feel like Anonymous's husband knows that she's written into a podcast, is probably going to hear the answer to this, or that, dare I say that Anonymous is maybe expressing her dissatisfaction, not only with the beach ocean stuff, but overall. In the first paragraph of this email, she called her marriage stagnant. Doesn't it feel like they need they've been together a long time. They're 40. They've been together since they were 22 years old. It's a long time.
I think they need a little shakeup.
They do need a shakeup, and they probably need like a heart to heart, and not just I want to be by the ocean. Oh, I want to go to the beach. Oh, no. More like, this is like deal breaker level important to me.
Yeah, this is
like an actual conversation, like a serious talk kind of thing.
I think the beach is used in many, many proverbs and analogies, right?
Oh, here we go.
No, I'm not.
Can't wait.
Life is a beach.
Yes.
I mean, that's the obvious one, but there's
what does that?
It does nothing to do with it. I'm just saying beach is,
Life is a beach.
There's so many beach sayings, right? We stayed in Ireland.
Oh, actually.
I mean, this was hilarious. We stayed at an Airbnb in Ireland. A lovely Airbnb. We had one of the most lovely times we ever had, so no complaints. Although one of the toilets didn't flush number 2. And I don't understand why they didn't tell us that, but they had all over, and I mean nowhere you could go would you escape from placards of beach sayings. Yeah. And I mean literally
beach paraphernalia everywhere you look.
There was everything.
Pictures, sayings. It looked like a lot of stuff from like Home Goods and like the beach house department.
Right.
Where there was sort of like shiplap with like a script on it about the beach, what the beach is for your soul.
In the bathroom, in the bedroom, in your bedroom,
in
2
the hallway,
bedrooms, nice Airbnb.
In the kitchen,
living room, in the kitchen. There was like 4 in
above
the kitchen.
The fireplace.
You couldn't look anywhere without seeing some saying about a beach on like driftwood or as you said like whatever shiplap,
which I only know from watching
the home improvement show.
Fixer Upper.
Thank you. Anyway, that was hilarious. I'm not sure why that was necessary to bring up, but my point is there's the beach is ripe with proverbs.
Yes, and we can't think of one right now, but
I'll get to it.
Just
by the time the hot air stops blowing, I think I'll think of one. But this question, like the beach, is full of proverbs that have nothing to do with the fact that she needs or likes the beach or wants to go to the beach. This is all about the stagnation of the relationship and where they need to go from here. And the place she wants to go is the beach. And how apropos, the beach where the ocean starts.
Yes.
Endless
The mouth.
unknown.
Yes.
Endless unknown.
Yes.
And what does he want? He wants a good school system.
Yes.
He's put his feet right on the ground where he is. He wants to know what's happening for the next 15 years. She wants to go to the beach to look upon the infinite.
The infinite, where you don't know. I mean, I have to say I relate to her on this. Like, I have this fantasy about waking up to a view of the water like that. And part of the fantasy is the unknown of it. It's as haunting as it is comforting.
There's limitless possibility. Who knows what's under that water?
Yeah.
There could be a megalodon. We have no idea what's going on under there. It's terrifying.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Is the unknown and the potential risk. Who knows? But he doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And I think the symbolism of that should be looked upon rather than where they go or what beach they go to or how long they go to a beach in whatever state of the country. I think she should be thinking about the symbolism of what's happening here, the stagnation and the lack of his ability to see a place where there's unknown.
Andy, that was a phenomenal analogy.
Oof, barely landed that
No,
one.
you landed that plane. It was a sturdy, solid, non-turbulent, turbulent landing.
Was there applause in the cabin?
Yes.
Isn't
It
that
was
funny?
so smooth that people were like, did we land?
You know,
it looks outside like we landed.
You know, there's no applause I enjoy. Like, honestly, for almost anything, except when you sing opera, when I get up and applaud. Sometimes too loud. Like you complain was on the recording, you hear me yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's too much applauding.
Don't be so biased.
Yeah,
Everyone knows you're my husband now.
I know, but you're great, and I like applauding loudly. Anyway, what husband doesn't? Can you imagine a husband who doesn't applaud loudly?
That's true. You're right. You put me in my place. Okay, but get to your
Anyway,
point.
my point is, I don't love applauding for things, but it's given. Like I kind of like to express my joy for something in silently with a big smile and like the look on my face. But I love nothing more than applauding a good landing. I feel it's a really good communal event.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
No, there is something kind of sweet, especially since flying is so shitty nowadays.
Yeah, and it's also
flying sucks now.
there
Like
is
if you're in coach,
it
it's
sucks.
like everyone's miserable.
Yeah, you
The
don't
flight
get food.
attendants treat you like shit, and you treat people. I don't, but people aren't nice to the flight attendants either. Like everyone's just looking at each other with disdain.
Yeah, people like cough and everyone's looking at them.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone hates each other.
Yes,
I mean, not exactly, but you get the point.
often.
And there's one man or woman. I said man first is because it was the first thing I thought of. Could be a woman.
Oh,
So fine. There's one woman flying the plane. I knew I was gonna. Yeah.
okay. There's one person.
There's a person.
Yes.
There's a human being.
Yes.
Generally, I think flying the plane.
Yes.
And that one person holds everyone's life in their hands.
Yes.
And they go through weather and they go through turbulence, unforeseen
Yeah, but
turbulence,
isn't
wind
a
shear.
lot of it kind of like computerized? Yeah.
Not the landing.
Okay.
Trust me, that landing isn't computerized. Takeoff and landing, all human.
Okay.
I mean,
That's cool.
mostly human. Obviously, the computers do something.
Okay.
But takeoff and landing, human.
Okay.
And when that wind's blowing sideways and you're coming in for landing and that plane's going all over the place, there's one guy with the wheel or whatever it's called, the yoke. I don't know what a commercial plane that has.
I think we've literally had this exact conversation before about what that thing is called.
It's a yoke. Isn't it a yoke?
I don't
Or a
think.
steering wheel? I think it might just be called the wheel. Maybe the yoke is something that goes up and down. The wheel goes left and right. Who cares? My point is that you got to land that plane.
Yeah. Okay.
There's only one person who can do it.
But basically, what you're saying is that you like applauding that because it brings everyone together.
It's my favorite applauding of all applauding I do. And you know what my least favorite is?
What?
By far, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people agreeing with me, applauding after a movie. Who are you applauding for? Just embarrassing.
Okay. I'm going to say you landed that plane about applauding the landing of planes a little less well than you landed the plane about the analogy of the ocean and the unknown.
I agree.
But that's fine. It was still an analogy upon an analogy. And Andy, that's advanced analogizing.
I'm trying to push the limit.
Okay, we need to wrap this one, but I think I'm gonna close with I don't really love giving this advice, but I do think that this question or this marriage warrants it, especially since they have 2 kids. I feel like couples therapy.
Yeah.
It's not
100%.
usually like we really don't, you guys know by now, we don't just say, oh, well, go to couples therapy. Like I don't like the one size fits all nature of that advice. It's like, well, go see a specialist. But I do feel like this is speaking to something deeper. The word stagnant in the first paragraph, I understand that it's been 18 years. They have 2 kids. Like, I understand. I think a lot of people would say that their marriage is stagnant, and that doesn't necessarily speak to something deeper. But I think everything we've talked about here is worth exploring with a professional.
Absolutely.
Anonymous.
Couldn't agree more.
Good luck. I think you're going to need it, but I also think this is so worth it.
Yeah. Don't give up.
Yes.
This is a fixable problem. This is a stagnation that can be fixed. It's like a pipe that's a plumbing that's clogged with a hairball.
Yes.
You don't just say, "Oh well, it's clogged. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a hairball. It's at the end of that pipe's useless now." You go in, you put whatever. What do you think that thing with the brush at the end of it?
Oh, the snake.
The snake. Yeah, you go in with a snake.
Yeah.
And you get that hairball out.
I think what I'm sensing in this email, and I think you are too, is the seedling of contempt.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Oh, I would say it's the green shoot.
Oh, really?
I think it's already sprouted.
Okay.
And it needs some weed killer.
Yeah. The fact that he's like, oh, no, I don't want to take over your parents' beach house. You don't get that. I know I don't want to go to Hawaii. No. It's like, yeah, I know this matters to you, but I'm still going to put my foot down. That, to me, that sounds like, if it's not full-blown contempt, it's something related.
You start at stagnation, then you go to resentment, then you go to contempt, then you go to disgust.
Okay, all right.
And they're right at stagnation.
Yeah.
They're far away from disgust.
Yes.
It can be stopped.
I agree.
Get that hairball out.
Yes. Okay, good luck. This next question is from L, as in the letter, smiley face. Dear Shandy, my boyfriend, 29, and I, also 29 female, have been dating for about 2 years and moved in together in the fall. There have been many positive aspects of our loving relationship, including that he makes me laugh constantly and we feel very at peace with each other. Somewhat at odds with his relaxed personality, he is a lawyer working 60 to 80 hours per week at an intense firm, and therefore I have more time and bandwidth to take on household chores. A few months ago, I came upon an unwelcome gift smeared inside 2 different pairs of his underwear in the laundry basket. Just like when Miranda did Steve's laundry in Sex and the City, which I always thought would be an immediate deal breaker, but here I am.
I mean...
Absolutely horrified, I couldn't help but immediately text him to say that I loved him very, very much, but that if I'm going to do our laundry, he needed to avoid the skid marks. He responded agitatedly about being very stressed at work, so I apologized for my careless timing, and we left it at that.
That was good stuff.
I debated bringing it up again, but decided that he was likely embarrassed enough that once would be effective. Since then, I did find one other pair with less of a smudge, which I, somewhat generously maybe, chalked up to growth and improvement. And didn't say much other than letting him know I had added flushable wet wipes to our bathroom. In general, we have different habits and standards, which we had discussed before moving in, but more so regarding untidiness versus uncleanliness. There is a difference.
Big difference.
Over Thanksgiving, since he didn't go into work, he didn't shower for 4 days. I brought it up. Do you have thoughts, Sandy? We'll get there. I brought it up joking that if we were hiking the Appalachian Trail, I might be right there with him, but that when we're in our cozy apartment bed, I become less interested in being physical with him the longer he goes without showering. Right. I should mention, we both usually have active sexual appetites and love physical touch. He said he understood and would be better about showering, but I do notice that our sheets start to smell bad much more quickly and significantly than I'm used to, just given that I shower at night, but he showers in the mornings. He recently returned from a single guy friend's apartment smelling like a mix of dirty socks, smoke, sweat, and fried food.
Oh, God.
I gently commented on this and him to shower before getting into bed, but it seems to have hurt his feelings, as he has since mentioned multiple times that he would never be mean and say that I smelled bad. To which I said, quote, I hope you would tell me if I did.
Nice retort.
So my question is, how do I make him develop better self-hygiene and cleaning habits without, 1, feeling like his parent, and 2, hurting his feelings? Over the holidays, I felt myself resenting his parents for not better teaching their son how to take care of himself, especially because I certainly don't want to be teaching my boyfriend how to wipe his bum, nor would his pride allow that anyway. Thank you, Shandy, for your suggestions and guidance. I am a longtime listener of your wonderful podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you. L. Oh, P.S. I have considered a bidet, but since he spends so much time at work, I'm not sure that fixes the issue of habits when outside our home.
A bidet is tremendous.
Yeah.
A bidet, for some reason, went out of style. I think it was a space issue or a plumbing issue. Like it was just sort of a luxury.
It's back in style.
It's back in style.
It's fully back in style.
A bidet is a good time.
It is.
I don't want to get into why bidets are good. But this guy is so busy. He works so hard. He literally has no time to wipe his ass. I'm not kidding. He goes in the bathroom. He's probably like, oh, we need that memo. And, he's running to the bathroom. He's like barely wiping with a thin public bathroom toilet paper.
Oh, a single ply.
Why would they do that? Who thought of that? Who thought, oh, you know what? We could save money by making this so thin that literally you're sticking your finger up your butthole.
Yeah. No.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. These animals, it's Scots.
Well,
you heard me, Scots.
Oh, is it Scott?
It's Scott.
Scott?
Scott. Scots?
I think Scott is like higher end than the one ply in law firms.
I always feel like when I see those walls of toilet paper you see sometimes in these kind of public bathroom areas.
Yeah.
You ever see a wall of toilet paper? It's usually Scott. I think.
I do recall buying Scott, I think, toilet paper once because it was on sale. And I never heard the end of it. Yeah. Andy was very upset. No. You like a nice toilet paper, and I've learned my lesson. And we don't buy cheap toilet paper anymore.
I don't need a nice.
I just think toilet paper is so expensive. I'm like, really? It's like $2 a roll. It's crazy.
It's honestly, it's $2 a roll. But think about what you buy in life. Like, let me ask you this question. So, okay, $2 a roll. Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you pay for a drink now in New York City? $16.
No,
one alcoholic beverage.
That's
not 8
expensive.
Rolls of toilet paper. How long does it take to go through 8 rolls of toilet paper?
Okay.
Is it okay?
Okay,
now it doesn't seem that expensive.
No, you're right. Okay, but back to a bidet. Even though I think it might not, fix his habits at work, I do think just the presence of a bidet might be just like a light reminder, kind of like the wipes.
I mean, it's not that easy to install a bidet. That might not be the solution.
I mean, one of our OG sponsors, they're not a sponsor anymore.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, we'll still give them a shout out because they were our first ever sponsor. Yeah. Hello Tushy.
But we're not allowed to talk about them anymore. They left.
Did they leave us or
they're gone?
I think that they went. There were hard times.
And right now would be a time when I would be singing the praises of Hello Tushy.
But because you're not being paid, you're not going to do it.
I can't do it. I'm a dancing monkey.
Oh,
you don't pay, I don't dance.
No, we can still shout out Hello Tushy.
Really?
Yes, they were our
now
first...
we give you a full ad now for nothing. This is now a full Hello Tushy ad. All right, do you have a promo code for them now?
What we're doing is singing the praises of bidets.
You know what? Not Hello Tushy, just the concept of a bidet that you can apply to your existing.
Yes.
Room. Anything. Okay, fine. So
I think that if they had never been a sponsor, you would be singing the praises. Because you'd be like, this amazing thing I discovered.
Well, I feel jilted.
Yeah.
They left me. Yeah, I feel hurt.
You feel rejected.
Yeah, I don't want to give them anything.
Yeah, okay.
I want to hurt them.
Okay.
No, I don't want to hurt them.
No.
Hello Tushy's
They
good.
might
It's
come
fine.
back. They might. Then you'll really be eating your words
I'm sorry,
right
Hello
now.
Tushy. You're great. I just feel a little upset.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think that these situations are the most difficult.
I do think some of our best ads were Hello Tushy ads.
Yes. Was our first
Yeah,
ad?
I mean, we really, I think, found our footing with ads with Hello Tushy.
That was it.
Like,
That's
we
where
gave
cut our
Hello
teeth.
Tushy good ad,
Yeah.
which I think is part of the reason why we feel jilted.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did they want more? What more did they want?
I don't know.
Me?
I don't know.
Gave everything to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is these questions that we get, these issues in relationships, I think are possibly the most difficult thing to address. Of all the things, like, oh, how do I tell my boyfriend this? Or how do I tell my girlfriend this? Right? It's the body hygiene. Very difficult to approach.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Oh, with me?
No, you're great. I actually kind of like you when you're dirty.
Oh.
I'm a little sick though. I don't think I'm a good
I don't
example.
mind you. I think one of the things about this question that I have a hard time relating. Okay, first of all, skid marks. Okay.
No.
I'm not including skid marks in this.
No.
But when you're a little bit unclean,
Yeah.
I find it kind of cute. Like, I'm like, oh my God, you smell.
Yeah. Pheromones.
And I'll like point it out. I'll be like, oh my God, you're a little smelly right now.
Smelly.
And I would say the closest I come to this territory is when I, will kiss or like we'll nuzzle and I'll be like, when was the last time you washed your face? This happens a lot. Because you start
I
to
have a
smell a
beard.
little bit like cheese.
Yeah, but yes, but you like cheese a lot.
Yeah, but I only like the smell of cheese when it's cheese.
I think you have to rethink that. Maybe cheese is good everywhere.
Yeah.
But
you take
I have
it
a
well,
beard.
yes.
You want a beard? You get smells. A beard takes on all smells.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a beard, my face wouldn't smell. So which one do you want? You want a smelly face or you want a beard?
You
want
Wait.
a not smelly face or a beard?
I want a beard.
Okay, then you can get a smelly face.
I don't like you without a beard.
Okay, then you get cheese face. And just deal with it. But in these situations, it's extremely difficult to air it. I do think the skid marks, it's like, come on, if she's doing the laundry,
yeah,
he should be respectful.
Yeah, she's not the maid.
Yeah, she's not the maid. She shouldn't have to suffer.
Yeah.
And not just her suffering. It's not just her suffering. The relationship is suffering.
Yeah.
You think there's no cost to that? You think the next time they're in bed together, she's not going to have an image of that skid mark? You don't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. She should tell him, trust me, for the relationship, you don't want to do that.
Yes.
Don't think about me. Think about you.
Yeah. And I also think that in general, I talked about sense of humor a lot earlier. I feel like there needs to be more sense of humor here, to the point where she's able to tease him.
Yes.
And he's not like, you're being mean.
That's what I was leading to.
Yeah.
Was when I was saying that these conversations are the hardest ones to have. You cannot have a frontal assault. You know what it's like? It's like in modern warfare, just lining up like it's the Civil War, like having like 1,000 soldiers and just saying, march, charge against like, Abrams tanks and like, I don't know what military has nowadays. It's crazy.
Who's what in this situation? Who's what in this analogy?
Saying the person who stinks is like the most advanced modern army in the world.
Okay.
And you basically opening a serious conversation about how they smell is like having like a Civil War style frontal assault where you're just charging with muskets and like, a flag. Some guy in the front is carrying a flag.
What you're saying is it's not effective.
No, you're going to mow down in 2 seconds. The opposing team, I guess it's more than a team. The army is going to laugh at you.
Okay.
They're like, wow, it's our lucky day. Look at these idiots.
Yeah, wait, but how is he, with his skid marks, the well-equipped army?
I think you're pulling apart this analogy too much. My point is certain things demand a more sneaky attack.
Okay.
A frontal assault is not appropriate for when someone smells bad.
Yeah.
You have to come around. You have to send guys into the forest here, or send someone to the forest here.
Yeah.
You have to flank behind. You have to have camouflage.
Yeah.
And all sorts of cloaking devices.
Yeah.
She has to go in this with comedy. I totally agree with you. And maybe
what she should do is take the skid marked underwear and like stick it to a pole and like wave it like a flag so that when he comes home.
Wow, that's hardcore.
God, sometimes I feel like I'm really sick. Like, how do I even think of things like that?
I mean, it's not a bad idea. I think an occasional, like, Jesus Christ, you smell like shit. No, seriously.
No, I think the way I do it with you works really well. I'll be like, Andy, when was the last time you washed your face? Like, it's like with a smile.
Yeah,
it's like funny.
It's nice.
funny. Then you're not like, well, you.
Yeah.
You're not like all defensive. Actually, your reaction is you'll be like, yesterday morning. It's actually really cute. It becomes this funny observation of something that you would otherwise be like keeping tabs on each other about. Do you know what I mean? Like she's talking about how he hasn't showered in 4 days.
No.
I think it would be, instead of being like you smell, it could be like, when was the last time you showered? How long have you been pushing it? You're awfully comfortable with me.
If you want to act like a baby, like a filthy poop covered baby, treat him like a baby.
Yeah. With like, I do think with
lightness,
a twinkle in your eye.
You know what it is? There's a certain way to put a healthy amount of shame into a partner without frontally shaming them.
Yeah.
Going back to my analogy.
Yeah.
And I think the shame has to be subtle.
Yeah.
It has to be gentle. It has to be funny. It has to be creative, and it can't be frontal.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be like, you smell, get in the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anything in that genre. It can't be that.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's just like, ooh, how many days has it been this week?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say that works for us.
Use humor, keep at it, and slowly instill a gentle, loving, humorous shame in him.
Yes.
And make him realize that it's not her she's necessarily upsetting the most. It's the relationship.
Yes.
And that will affect him.
Yes.
He's hurting himself.
Yes.
By neglecting his hygiene.
Yes. And I think also, I understand he works a lot, but I still don't know if that's really an excuse, especially he's young enough. What is he, 29, where I'm not sure that he's having like issues with like retention.
No, yeah, no, I don't think we're dealing with that.
Yeah, but it could be something as simple as like, I'm not your maid. And if, all I ask is that you like peer, you look down when you're taking off your underwear before you throw it in the hamper. And if you see something, just give it a good like scrubbing.
Or maybe get to the point where you don't need to have that in your underwear. Maybe just give it an extra like 20 seconds in the bathroom.
Yeah, but I don't think when there's skid marks, it's from not
I think that's
wiping enough.
What do you think it's from? Of course that's what it's from.
Oh, I thought it was just like kind of an
taking,
accident.
Like, no.
Wait, so
you think he's shitting himself at work all the time? Oh my God.
So you're saying you think he just doesn't wipe enough?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. He's committing a foul. It can be fixed very easily by him having more respect for the relationship by just putting an extra few seconds in the bathroom.
Oh my God. I think a bidet actually is a good call.
Yeah.
Because a bidet, kind of makes it fun.
A bidet is absolutely tremendous.
I think it's
a win-win-win.
And
it feels good, doesn't waste toilet paper.
Yes.
Think of how much toilet paper is wasted. What is this? It's just the whole industry shouldn't exist. You should just wash your bum with water. And there should be a towel.
Oh, this is becoming an ad, Andy.
You want to come back? Come on back.
I think that a bidet would be the perfect amount of impact for this issue.
Sure.
If it is indeed a lack of wiping.
Yeah, but he has to have a bidet at work.
He's probably doing number 2 at home as much as he does it at work. 50% of the time, it's being washed a little bit. It's helpful. And also, I think it has impact. It's showing I didn't just buy some wet wipes. I installed something. This is business. And it's a little funny, but also, look at this. You might as well use it. It's here.
She can try what she wants. It may fail. It may be that this guy just won't. He's not betting on this. This is the way he is. And then there's plan B, which is very important. If you truly, truly love somebody, like you really want to spend the rest of your life with them, you have to come to a point where you accept that they are an animal. Literally.
Yeah.
And that they do animal things.
Yeah.
They make poops.
Yeah.
They pee.
Yeah, but you still
they
don't
smell.
want to.
They sweat. I know. What I'm saying is, let's say she fails. Let's say that sneak attack, that flanking fails. They knew it was coming.
It's not a deal breaker, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, you have to do some self work about the actual concept of animal functions.
Yes.
And say, look, maybe he's got like his gasket's faulty. It's a little leaky. I don't know. Maybe he just can't. Maybe
that's what I thought.
Maybe he just, like he's a smelly person. Like he just doesn't smell great.
Yeah.
Like if you can't get past that physically, if you can't, then that's it. But if you have the ability to get past it, but there's so many other good things other than the fact that he smells and has streaks, you have to have a talk with yourself, a real talk. Be like, this is an animal. I'm living with an animal in my house. An animal without fur, but it's an animal.
Yeah.
And this animal makes poop. And this animal makes sweat. And this animal makes urea. And that's something that I have to accept. And I do the same thing. I'm just more delicate about it.
Yes.
I would smell the same way if I did what he did.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to close by saying what I thought when I saw that Sex and the City scene for the first time. So Miranda's going through the hamper. She's doing the laundry, and she does find a pair of Steve's boxers, and there's a skid mark in it.
No, did they show it on TV?
No, I think they, I don't remember.
You know what's funny? This is what I find so funny about humanity and civilization. Like, we'll show so many things on TV. We'll show a guy's head exploding.
Yeah.
We'll show a massacre.
Yeah.
We'll show amputations, anything, just horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Starvation, torture.
Yeah.
But there's something about a skid mark in an underwear. Can't do that.
I think they might have shown it.
I don't know if they did.
Because
I bet they didn't.
I'm going to bet they did. Oh my God. Do we have a future reel being made right now?
I bet they don't. How much you want to bet?
I'm going to bet $5 that they show the skid mark in the Sex and the City episode where Miranda does the laundry and finds a skid mark in Steve's underwear.
I'm going to take that bet.
Okay, you bet $5 they don't show it.
Yeah, I bet it was suggested and discussed.
Yeah, she just looks at it and she's just like
ugh, and then they talk about it later at the table in the restaurant.
Okay, let's shake on it.
All right.
On our bet.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have our lawyer present? Okay.
Okay, well, my reaction to that scene was I thought it was funny. I did not think it was a deal breaker.
No.
Even in a humorous way.
Funny. It's
kind of
human.
funny.
We're all humans.
And am I allowed to reveal that one time I did?
One time?
Yeah, one time.
With me, you found a skid mark? Is that one time in 10 years? That's enough to talk about on the podcast?
All I'm saying.
And by the way, I think that one time I actually did shit my pants. So that doesn't count.
Okay, I think we've answered this one. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, and
TikTok,
leave us Apple and
Spotify
podcast ratings and reviews. Tell your friends and generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on.
And don't forget Apple Podcast reviews.
Yes.
Yeah,
Apple,
we need those.
that really means a lot. It helps us grow.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't see Ruby until you go and leave an Apple Podcast review. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. She's scratching her crate now. Da, 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 boom, boom.
Okay, thank you.
Ruby's like, what the hell? Ruby. Oh, Ruby.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I understand.
She loves you too.
I understand this relationship.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Isn't it fun?
And in some ways, in many ways, she's the best I told you so I've ever gotten.
Oh.
Ruby.
Go to mommy. Ruby, go to mommy.
Yay! Yes,
Okay.
yes. Oh my goodness.
That's a good
Oh
girl.
my goodness. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.
Oh, you got looking. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. That's a good girl.